Hey math kids, today we're going to talk about the binomial theorem, and I guess I'll just write that down for you. So if we have a plus bn, or a plus b raised to the n, then we get this thing. Zoom out a little bit. It's too long. Okay, really all this is the thing that we did with Pascal's triangle, and we were trying to expand things in this form. Another way we can look at this though, so this is equal, this thing is equal to this down here. R equals 0, go to that, and R A n minus R b to the R. Okay, so we're going to focus on this. And the piece that is nr is called the binomial coefficient, and what it is it's just a combination. So when we see this piece, which is right here, this is kind of the same thing. We're going to use a combination. Now, before we get started on this, I want to show you a quick thing on a calculator just with combinations. So let's say we have 10 and 7. That would be 10CR, like that, 10C7. We could go to the 10th row on Pascal's triangle and look at the seventh element, but that's probably going to take us a long time. So if we have a calculator, we can go to math. Oh, whoops, sorry. You got to type in the first number first. So 10, and then go to math. Go to PRB, which stands for probability. Go down to the NCR, hit enter, doesn't NCR, then we type in our 7. So this is the same thing as doing 10-7 like this, or 10C7. We hit enter, and that tells us that our answer is 120. So this will definitely come in handy while we're doing some of these problems. So for this one, we need to write down the first 3 terms as well as the last 2 terms of 2x plus 1 over x to the 12th. Okay, so if we go back up here, we see that it's just a to the n. So a is going to be this piece, and so we're just going to get 2x raised to the 12th. Okay, and then from that point on, we're just going to use this piece, and the place we get the r from, so we're going to say, where is that? So we have nr a n minus r b to the r. Now r is just the term that we're at. So we start at 0, and then we use a 1, and then a 2. So if we're filling this out, our n is 12, and our r is 1. And then we have our 2x, and it's raised to the n minus r, so it's the difference between these two. so that's going to be 11. Then we plug in our b, which is 1 over x, and we just raise that to the r, which is the 1. So this is considered the 0th term. This is considered the first term. And so now we want to do the next one. So it's going to be 12 over 2 this time. And then 2 to the x. Whoops, I didn't do that. We're going to raise it to the 10th because it's the difference between these two. And then we're going to multiply it by 1 over x. And this time our r changed to a 2, so it's a 2. So this is the second term. All right, so we finished this part. We did the first 3 terms. Now, we just do the last 2 terms. So the very last value of r is going to be 12, so we need to do 11 and 12. So we're going to go 11, or not that, sorry, that's always 12. 12, 11, and we get 2 to the x, and so the difference between that is 1. And we do 1 over x and raise it to the r. Now the last term, if we look at it up here, it's just going to be b to the n. And so b to the n, let's see, our b is x, not n, sorry, n is 12. And we got our last 2 terms. Okay, so this was essentially just testing, do we know how to use this formula? Okay. All right, we will move on to the next one. So this one says find the 7th term. Of 3x minus 4 over x squared, and then raise it to the 14th. One thing I forgot to mention on that last one, it specifically says in the problem not to simplify, so that's why I just left all of that. This one also says not to simplify. Okay, so once again I'm going to write that formula. So it's n r a to the n minus r, and then b to the r. Okay. So when we're looking at this, we can write down some of our stuff. So I'm going to say a is equal to 3x, b is equal to negative 4 over x squared, and then n is equal to 14. Okay? And then specifically in this one, r is going to be equal to 7. Ooh, they want us, okay, that's tricky. They're labeling them a little bit different. So they actually do label this as the first, second, third. And so this would be the 12th and the 13th. Okay, so I didn't realize they were labeling that. So our r is actually going to be 6, because the 7th we would have to go plug in a 0, like as far as r values go. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then if we just count those, we're going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So an r value of 6 is actually the 7th term. Okay? Now if we plug it into this, we have our n, which is 14. We have our r, which is 6. We have our a, which is 3x. We're going to raise that to the n minus r, or the difference between these two. So that's going to be 8. And then we have our b term. And that's going to be raised to the r, which was 6. Okay, and it doesn't want us to simplify. And so we can just say t7 is equal to that. Some more room. Okay, so we're given this. We need to find coefficient of x to the 6th. Okay, so if we just pull out our information, we have a is equal to x squared, b is equal to 4 over x, and n is equal to 12. Now, if we are looking for the term that has x to the 6th, what's going to happen is we have tr plus 1 equals 12 r x squared, 12 minus r, 4 over x to the r. So if we don't know what our r needs to be, this is something that can help us figure that out. Now, when we're doing this, we just simplify it a little bit. So we distribute the r to both pieces. So we have 4 to the r over x to the r. And then if we multiply this in, we're going to get x to the 24 minus 2r. And then we still have our 12 over r. Okay. Now, since we're since we want to figure out what the r value needs to be, we're going to take, let's see, we should combine this first. So we're going to think of it like this. So we have 4 to the r that comes out, and then we're going to take this divided by this. So we get x to the 24 minus 2r divided by x to the r. Now if we remember our exponent rules, we could just do this minus this. And so we get 4 to the r equals x to the 24 minus 3r. This is all an exponent. I know it doesn't quite look like that. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take this, and we want it to be equal to 6, because originally we were trying to find the coefficient of x to the 6th. So we're just going to say 24 minus 3r equals 6. Subtract 24. Divided by negative 3. So r ends up equaling 6. Now, we can, oh, whoops. This wasn't supposed to be an equal sign. That's multiplied. Now we're going to take this thing. We're going to say 4 to the 6, x to the 6, and this kind of got dropped, so we still have that, 12, 6. Okay. So if we want to find just the coefficient, because once again it said find the coefficient of the x to the 6th term, we focus just on the numbers right here. And so we can do this on a calculator. Bring our calculator up. So we're going to say 12, go to math, probability, hit that, and then 6. And then we want to multiply that answer by 4 to the 6. And so 37847, all right, so 3,784,704. Okay, and then the next question asks us the same, so it's part B. Instead of the coefficient of this, it wants the constant term. So what we want is we want the exponent on the x to be 0. So we're actually going to just pick it right back up where we did the blue part right here. Right here. But instead of setting it equal to 6, we're going to set it equal to 0. So 24 minus 3r equals 0. I'm going to add 3r this time. 24 equals 3r, divide by 3, divide by 3, 8 equals r. Then we're going to come back up to this, but those 6's are now going to be 8's. Well, not all of them. But let's see, where are we? Once again, we're going to use this mixed with this thing. So we have 12 over 8. And then we're going to have 4 raised to the 8. And then x to the 0. Once again, we just want the coefficient. And so if we plug this into a calculator, we're going to get 12, whoops, okay, 12 math, whoops, go to the NCR, hit enter, hit 8, get that answer, and then times it by 4 to the 8. And we get a large number, so 32,440,320.
Do-Up Girls Dance Time in the other room. Do-Up Girls Dance Time in the other room. We are still missing Ed and Sophia.
Alright, so we have one more example. It says find the coefficient of x to the 5th. So we want coefficient in the expansion of x plus 3, 2x minus 1 to the 6th. That's a weird 2. Alright. Okay, so we want to find this coefficient. So when we're multiplying this out, we essentially will keep this out in front, and then we'll expand what we have here. So we're going to have 2x quantity to the 6. Once again, just using that formula, 6, 1, 2x to the 5th, and then negative 1 to the 1, plus 6, 2, 2x to the 4th, negative 1 squared, etc. Okay, now we're going to focus just on x to the 5th stuff. And so this piece, if we do 3 times this, since this doesn't have an x in it and this has an x to the 5th in it, that's going to give us a piece that we care about. So I'm going to write that one down. So I'm going to get 3 times 6, 1, 2x to the 5th, negative 1 to the 1, and that's one piece. Now, if I take this x and I multiply it by this x to the 4th, that's also going to create an x to the 5th, which is what I want. And so we'll need to add that together, but we'll get x times all of this stuff. Okay, now if we simplify this stuff, then we'll get to the answer that we need. So let's do some of these practice using this again. Okay. So try to think about what you think this is going to be. I just want to show you. X to the 1 is just 6. So if we do a combination and it's 6, 7, 8, 9, anything, and then the second number is 1, it's always going to be that first number. So 3 times 6 times 2 to the 5th times -1. Now I'm purposely leaving out the x because they just want the coefficients. Okay. Now this one, it's going to be x to the 5th, right? So that's not affected. Now if we do 6 and 2, so I'm going to say second entry, but I'm going to change that to a 2. We get 15. So we get 15 for this piece, and then 2 to the 4th, and then -1 squared. Alright, from here we should be able to just type this all in. So we're going to say 3 times 6 times 2 to the 5th plus 15 times 2 to the 4th times -1 squared. Okay, and that didn't quite work out. Let's see, why didn't that work out? Where did I mess up? Ooh, I see what I messed up. So I left out my -1 right here. So let me try that again. 3 times 6 times 2 to the 5th times -1. So that's what I left out, that -1. And then I got 15 times 2 to the 4th. And then -1 squared is just 1. So times that by 1. And now I got the right thing. So -336. Alright, if you need additional help, please come to Math Lab. Until then, calculator.